The reception hall glowed with golden lights bouncing off polished marble floors and crystal chandeliers. The air carried the scent of white roses and expensive perfume, mingling with the soft clink of champagne flutes as guests chatted and laughed. Waiters in black vests glided silently, balancing silver trays of hors d'oeuvres, weaving through tables adorned with towering floral arrangements and cursive name cards. At the center, the dance floor shimmered beneath a domed skylight, surrounded by ivory-draped tables and candlelight. At one end, a sleek DJ booth pulsed with subtle colors, ready to ignite the night. It was a flawless evening, the kind brides dreamed of and planners bragged about. The newlyweds, Emily and Michael, had just entered to roaring applause. Emily radiated in her lace gown, its train trailing like starlight. Michael, sharp in a tailored navy suit, held her hand proudly as they glided through their first dance. The crowd formed a circle, phones discreetly capturing every moment. The DJ, a charismatic guy named Leo with sunglasses perched on his head, played their chosen indie ballad, its beat swelling slowly. They moved as if alone in the world, whispering affections under the music, with sniffles from emotional relatives in the background. At the room's edge, beyond the glow of joy, stood Margaret. Tall and angular, in her late 50s, she held herself rigidly in a stiffly ironed lavender dress, a pearl necklace tied around her neck. Her lips were a thin line as she clutched a half-full glass of sparkling water and a sequined purse. She hadn't clapped for the entrance, hadn't smiled during the dance, hadn't spoken since our revying. Margaret, technically Emily's great-aunt's cousin-in-law, was union-whited but tolerated out of courtesy. Emily hadn't seen her in over a decade, and Michael didn't know her at all. Her name was one you didn't cross off without risking drama. At a 2007 family reunion, she'd sent a 6-paragraph email criticizing the drink choices and playlist vulgarity. Her opinions were bold, shared unprompted. As the dance floor filled grandparents swaying, teens attempting TikTok moves, Margaret's scowl deepened. Leo shifted from the ballad to a mid-tempo track, and the crowd embraced it. Shoes came off, ties loosened, Emily laughed with a bridesmaid, and Michael pulled his mom onto the floor. The energy was contagious, except for Margaret, who stood like a rock in a storm, growing bitter. She leaned toward a guest, Sarah, in a pale blue dress, fresh from dancing. "This music is inappropriate," Margaret hissed. "All that basset's for nightclubs, not weddings." Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "It's fun," she said politely. "Everyone's enjoying it." Margaret sniffed. "Fun isn't tasteful. A wedding should be refined, with a string quartet, not this nonsense." Sarah gave a tight smile and turned away. Margaret scanned for allies but found none. The volume rose as Leo played a remix, prompting cheers. Margaret's grip tightened, her face reddening. To her, this wasn't just music, it was a betrayal of standards, a slide into chaos. The indecent dancing and drinking mocked what a wedding should be. When no one shared her outrage, she decided to act. With deliberate steps, her heels clicking, Margaret marched to the DJ booth. No one noticed at first, but whispers spread as she approached Leo, who was focused on his equipment. Without a word, she yanked the power cable. The music stopped, the dance floor froze, and the booth's lights died. Guests looked around, puzzled. Margaret stood, arms crossed, satisfied with the silence. The quiet lasted only a moment. Leo calmly plugged the cable back in, and with a few clicks, he blasted a defiant pop remix. The crowd roared, dancing with renewed vigor. Emily clapped, grinning, and Michael raised a glass. The party surged, making Margaret's act a bizarre footnote. Her satisfaction turned to shock. She'd expected gratitude, not rebellion. Ignored and humiliated, her indignation boiled. No one approached her. Sarah joined a conga line, and others avoided her gaze. Margaret's pulse raced, her breathing shallow. She moved to the bar, grabbed a Merlot bottle before the bartender could protest, and marched to the dessert table. The 3-tiered wedding cake, frosted with white swirls and fondant roses, stood as a masterpiece. Margaret hesitated, then smashed the bottle into it. Glass shattered, frosting exploded, and the cake collapsed, its figurines toppling into wine-soaked ruins. "This isn't classy. It's trash," she shouted. Silence fell, heavy with disbelief. Emily clutched her chest, Michael's jaw tightened, and Leo froze. Margaret stood, triumphant, expecting vindication. Instead, she faced horror and frowns. Emily's uncle, Dev, who'd funded half the event, gripped her shoulder. "You're coming with me," he said, voice calm but firm. "Unless you want police, sit outside." Murmurs spread as phones emerged, not to film but to call for help. Leo faded the music, and YD escorted Margaret out, followed by relatives ensuring no further chaos. Inside, the room exhaled. Someone clapped in support, laughter broke out, and a joke about cake scraps for breakfast eased the tension. Emily, hugged by a cousin, and Michael, checking the bar, refused to let the night die. The staff cleared the wreckage, replacing the cake with tarts and mousse. Emily's stained dress was cleaned, and she laughed at the absurdity. She and Michael held hands, vowing to reclaim their night. Leo reset with calm tracks, then a soulful groove. Guests returned to the dance floor, reclaiming joy. Sarah danced with her husband, kids squealed, and a groomsman toasted unshakable love. WYD returned, joking about Margaret sitting like a gargoyle. The bartender's Margaret cocktail, red wine with lemon juice, became a hit, turning drama into humor. Emily, eating a tart, told her mom, "It's not the cake, but it's amazing." Her mom hugged her, praising her resilience. The photographer captured raw moments: barefoot dancers, frosting-smeared dresses, Emily and Michael kissing with crumbs on their lips. Outside, Margaret sat alone on a bench, clutching her purse. Her phone buzzed, but she didn't check. The music's faint pulse stung, but her pride held firm. She didn't return or apologize. Inside, the night transformed. The DJ abandoned the playlist, mixing Motown and club hits. Guests sang, danced, and laughed, turning stains into badges of honor. A Tool sign read, "In low-lying memory of the cake," sparking giggles. Emily and Michael, breathless and joyful, sat together, watching their community rebuild the night. It wasn't perfect, it was better, alive with love. As the lights dimmed for a slow song, couples swayed. Emily and Michael danced, eyes locked, wrapped in music like a blanket. Outside, Margaret had left, unapologetic, her motives unclear. The hole she'd tried to create closed without her. As the song ended, Michael whispered, "We survived the full Margaret experience." Emily laughed. "Barely, but we win." They kissed, a moment just for them. Guests gathered jackets, promising reunions. Emily smiled at the crumpled napkins and frosting smears. "We'll never forget this," she said. Michael grinned. Thanks to Margaret. Hand in hand, they stepped into the night, not an end but a beginning, where love triumphed over chaos.